The heavy metal doors creaked open, and the stench of sweat and fear flooded the cold air. In the vast arena, alien creatures, monstrous, towering, and ruthless, waited with bated breath. Their reptilian eyes gleamed, their jaws sharp and ready for blood. The room was alive with anticipation as the next fight was about to begin. Every fight was the same. A new human captured from Earth was thrown into the ring. They fought for their lives against predators stronger, faster, and more deadly than anything the human race had ever seen. And yet every time the result was always the same. The human was crushed. But this time was different. A figure appeared in the doorway, silhouetted by the harsh lights above. The room fell silent. The crowd paused, unsure of what they were seeing. A human, standing alone, facing down the terrifying beasts of the arena. He was small, no taller than 5'8", with no armor or weapon. His clothes were simple, tattered jeans, a dirty shirt, and worn-out shoes. But there was something about him, something unspoken that made the predators stop in their tracks. It wasn't his size or his appearance, it was the way he stood. The way he held himself, like he had no fear, no hesitation, and no doubt that he belonged here. Marcus, this was the man's name, didn't flinch. He walked forward, his eyes scanning the room, his mind working in silence. The crowd of aliens observed him with growing interest. Some leaned forward, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. There was something strange about this one. His posture was too confident for someone who was about to face certain death. "Do you know what happens to humans here?" A voice boomed from across the room. It came from the biggest and most terrifying of the predators, a hulking brute with armored skin and sharp tusks that curved out from its lower jaw. It was the leader of the pack, and its voice carried the weight of years of dominance. Marcus looked at the creature and didn't answer. His silence spoke louder than any words ever could. The beast stepped forward, its massive form casting a shadow over Marcus. "You will die like all the others," it snarled. "You will scream, you will beg, and we will enjoy every moment." Marcus didn't react to the threat. He didn't even show the slightest flicker of emotion. His eyes stayed calm, focused. He wasn't afraid. The alien crowd was confused. They had seen many humans brought to the arena before. Most were trembling, shaking, begging for mercy, but not this one. He had the look of someone who wasn't here to die. He was here to fight. The creature's nostrils flared as it stared down at Marcus. "You have no weapon, no armor. What do you think you can do to survive?" It let out a low laugh, the sound echoing off the stone walls. The other predators chuckled, their deep voices rumbling through the room. Marcus didn't flinch. His eyes never left the leader. And for a brief moment the predator could see something in the human's gaze, a spark, something that was dangerous. "Fight," Marcus said simply. His voice was steady, almost too calm for the situation. "I'm here to fight. I'm not going to beg for my life." The crowd fell silent. It wasn't just his words, but the way he said them. There was something in his voice that made the room uneasy. For the first time, the predators weren't sure what to make of this human. He wasn't like the others. The arena fell into an unsettling quiet. The leader sneered at Marcus. "So be it," it growled. "Let's see how long you last." With a signal, the first challenger was released, a massive creature with scales like a crocodile, long, sharp claws, and a mouth full of razor teeth. The beast was faster than anything Marcus had seen before. It lunged, its claws swiping through the air with deadly precision. The crowd roared as the first blood was about to be spilled. Marcus stood still, his eyes locked on the creature. His heart pounded in his chest, but his mind was clear. This wasn't about strength or speed, it was about survival. As the predator struck, Marcus moved. He ducked low just as the beast's claws slashed through the air above him. With incredible speed, Marcus rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding another vicious swipe. He rose to his feet and faced the creature, his heart beating in his ears. The predator snarled, frustrated by the human's agility. It lunged again, faster this time, its claws cutting through the air like knives. Marcus reacted on instinct. He sidestepped, grabbing the predator's arm as it swiped past him. Using the beast's momentum, Marcus twisted its arm, sending it crashing to the ground with a resounding thud. The crowd gasped. The predator staggered back to its feet, confused. It had never met a human who fought back like this. Most humans panicked, ran, or begged for mercy. But this one wasn't afraid. Marcus took a step forward, his expression steady. He didn't smile, didn't show fear. He simply looked at the creature, sizing it up. The predator charged again, roaring with fury. But Marcus was ready. He moved with the precision of someone who had fought for survival his entire life. His body moved like a shadow, slipping past the creature's attacks, dodging and weaving with a speed that seemed impossible for a human. Then in a flash he struck, hitting the creature with a force that sent it stumbling back. The alien fell to the ground, its claws scraping the stone floor as it tried to regain its balance. The crowd was now silent. This wasn't the spectacle they were used to. This human, he wasn't just surviving, he was fighting. Marcus stood over the fallen predator, his breathing steady but quick. Sweat dripped from his forehead, but his eyes never wavered. He didn't need to say anything. His actions spoke for him. He was here to win. He was here to survive. As the creature slowly rose to its feet, it looked at Marcus with a new understanding. The human wasn't just a prey, he was a fighter. And the arena, once filled with laughter and mockery, was now filled with a tense silence. Marcus had just made his mark. The silence in the arena was deafening. The alien predators who moments ago had laughed and jeered now watched with growing confusion. The atmosphere had changed. It wasn't just the sight of the human standing tall over the defeated creature. It was the way he stood, unwavering and unbroken in the face of the impossible. The crowd, once mocking, now seemed unsure, their eyes filled with something unfamiliar, fear. The leader, the largest predator in the arena, towered over the others, its muscular form rippling with power. Its eyes were a glowing yellow, piercing through the dim light of the arena as it fixed its gaze on Marcus. The beast's reptilian face twisted into a snarl, its massive claws scraping against the stone floor. "You think you can win?" the leader growled, its voice thick with anger and disbelief. "You think a weak human like you has what it takes to survive this arena?" Marcus didn't flinch. He simply met the predator's gaze, his eyes cold, his face expressionless. He had no time for fear. The fight had only just begun. The room was still. Every alien in the audience knew what was at stake. The human had already killed one of their own, something no one had ever dared to do. But now they all waited. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Marcus could feel the weight of their gazes on him, the pressure mounting with each passing second. But in that moment he was focused. His heart raced, his muscles ached from the first fight, but his mind was clear. He had been pushed to the edge before. This wasn't new to him. He had fought battles all his life, some physical, others mental, but all had one thing in common: he had never given up. The leader's voice broke through his thoughts. "It's time for the real test," it said, its tone dark with promise. Suddenly, a loud rumbling echoed through the arena. From the far side of the room, a massive gate began to open. A thick mist poured out, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps. The crowd gasped in unison, their excitement building as they saw what was coming. From the mist emerged the next challenger, a creature unlike any Marcus had faced so far. It was a hulking figure, almost 10 feet tall, with black, spiny armor covering its entire body. Its eyes glowed red like embers, and its breath came in hot, forceful bursts. The creature's body was made of thick, hard scales, and its claws were long and razor-sharp. A deadly tail flicked back and forth behind it, cracking the ground with each movement. The crowd roared as the creature stepped into the arena. It was unstoppable, a killing machine made for this moment. The aliens whooped and shouted in excitement, eager to see this human crushed beneath the monster's might. Marcus' eyes narrowed as he took in the new threat. This wasn't like the first fight. This wasn't just a big predator with brute strength. This was something more dangerous, something designed for battle. The creature locked its eyes on Marcus, a low growl rumbling in its throat. Without warning, it lunged forward, its massive arms swinging toward the human with terrifying speed. The audience gasped. No one had ever survived a direct hit from the behemoth. It was known for crushing its prey in seconds, its sheer power unmatched. But Marcus wasn't just going to stand there and take it. With a quick step to the side, he avoided the creature's swinging claws by inches. The air whipped past him as he moved, his body reacting on pure instinct. He didn't have time to think. He had to move faster. His legs burned, his muscles screamed, but he pushed on, using the creature's size against it. The behemoth turned quickly, its claws swiping down again. But Marcus was already behind it. In one fluid motion, he reached out, grabbing a loose piece of metal from the arena floor. The jagged edge of the shard caught the light as he swung it with all his strength, aiming for the behemoth's exposed side. The blade sliced through the air, hitting the creature's thick armor with a loud clang. But the creature didn't flinch. Instead, it spun around, its tail striking out like a whip. Marcus barely had time to raise his arm to block the hit. The force of the tail knocked him backward, sending him crashing into the ground. The crowd cheered, their voices rising in excitement, but Marcus wasn't done. He pushed himself up, his body sore, but his will unbroken. He was going to survive this. He had to, for himself, for those who believed in him. The behemoth charged again, its claws raised to finish what it had started. Marcus had only one chance. He had to move faster, he had to outsmart it. With a grunt, Marcus sprang to his feet and dodged just in time. The behemoth's claws slashed through the air, missing him by a fraction of an inch. But it was enough. Marcus dove underneath the creature, narrowly avoiding its tail as it swung over him. In that moment, Marcus saw an opening. The behemoth's underbelly, the softest part of its armor, was exposed. Marcus didn't hesitate. He grabbed a nearby jagged stone and plunged it into the creature's weak spot. The behemoth roared in pain, its body thrashing as Marcus twisted the stone deeper. The crowd fell silent, their eyes wide with disbelief. They had never seen anything like this before. A human, weak, fragile, was fighting back, not just surviving, but fighting to win. With one final, desperate strike, Marcus drove the stone into the creature's heart. The behemoth's roar echoed throughout the arena, and then with a heavy thud, it collapsed to the ground. For a moment, there was complete silence. Then slowly, one by one, the predators began to clap. It was soft at first, hesitant, unsure of what they had just witnessed. But as the minutes passed, the clapping grew louder, more insistent. They had seen it. They had seen the human do the impossible. Marcus stood over the fallen creature, his body battered and bruised, but his spirit unbroken. He had done it. He had defeated the behemoth. But the fight wasn't over. Marcus knew the challenge wasn't finished. There was still more to come. The predators had underestimated him. They had thought he was just a weak human, easy to defeat. But now they knew better. He wasn't just fighting for his life. He was fighting for his people, and he would never give up. The arena was alive with noise now, loud roars, cheering, and the pounding of fists on the stone walls. The predators who had once laughed and mocked Marcus now stood in stunned silence. What they had just witnessed was no ordinary victory. The human had defeated the behemoth, one of the fiercest creatures they had ever known. The crowd's shock was palpable, but it was something deeper that sent a chill through the room, something they had never expected to see: fear. The leader of the predators, the giant creature that had so confidently challenged Marcus earlier, stared down at him. Its yellow eyes gleamed with both respect and hatred. This human, this small, insignificant creature from a far-off world, had proven himself more dangerous than any of them had imagined. Marcus stood still in the center of the arena, his chest heaving, his body bruised and battered. Blood dripped from his arms, his face, but his eyes burned with an unspoken promise. He wasn't done. He wasn't here to just survive, he was here to win. But even he knew that defeating the behemoth hadn't ended his fight. The worst was yet to come. The silence in the arena stretched on until the leader's voice broke it, cold and commanding. "Enough games," the creature growled. "You've proven yourself, for now, but there's one more trial before you, a final test of your strength, a true test. If you survive this, then you will be worthy of my respect." Marcus didn't say a word. He didn't need to. He simply nodded. He had already proven more than anyone thought he was capable of. His resolve was firm, his will unbreakable. The leader waved its hand, and from the far corner of the arena, another massive gate began to rise. This time, the ground trembled beneath Marcus' feet, and a low rumble echoed from deep within the earth. Whatever came through that gate would be unlike anything he had faced so far. His muscles tensed in preparation. The gate finally opened, and out walked a new predator, a creature like none Marcus had ever seen before. It was a massive, insect-like being, its exoskeleton shining like black steel under the harsh lights of the arena. Its eyes glowed with a fiery red intensity, and its multiple limbs moved with a grace that belied its size. It had pincers that could snap through metal, and its sharp, spiny tail could pierce through solid stone. The creature stood tall, towering over Marcus like a living nightmare, its long legs clicking against the floor as it approached. The sound of its movement sent a shiver down Marcus' spine. This was no ordinary beast. It was a war machine, a hunter born for one purpose: to kill. Marcus took a deep breath, pushing aside the fear gnawing at his insides. He wasn't going to back down, not now. He had come this far, and he would see it through. The crowd, sensing the impending danger, grew even quieter. They had never seen anything like this. The alien predators had faced countless enemies, but nothing had ever struck them with this much tension, this much uncertainty. Could this human truly defeat something so monstrous? The insect creature clicked its pincers together in an almost mocking gesture before it charged. Its speed was astonishing. One moment it was standing still, and the next it was on top of Marcus, its claws aimed directly for his chest. But Marcus was faster. He dodged to the side, narrowly avoiding the creature's deadly pincers. The arena was alive with gasps as the human once again used the enemy's speed against it. He leapt forward, aiming for the creature's vulnerable underbelly, but the insect-like predator was quicker than he expected. It swung its tail, knocking Marcus back, sending him flying into the stone wall with a crash. Pain shot through Marcus' body as he hit the ground hard, but he gritted his teeth and pushed through it. He couldn't afford to let up, not now. He was still breathing. That meant he still had a chance. The creature loomed over him, its pincers ready to strike again. Marcus scrambled to his feet, his legs feeling like lead. Blood dripped down his face, but his eyes locked onto the enemy with a fierce determination. It was then that he noticed something. The creature's movements were fast, but they were also predictable. There was a pattern to how it attacked, slow, deliberate. It was an instinctive predator, but it lacked the kind of adaptability Marcus had seen in the behemoth. Marcus took a step back, testing the creature's speed. It lunged forward again, its pincers snapping. This time, Marcus was ready. He dodged to the side and in one fluid motion grabbed a sharp piece of debris from the arena floor. As the creature's pincer scraped past him, Marcus thrust the sharp object upward, aiming for the soft spot under the creature's chest. The creature screeched in pain as the weapon embedded itself in its vulnerable spot. The predator staggered back, trying to free itself, but Marcus wasn't finished. He pressed the attack, grabbing another shard and driving it deeper into the wound. The creature roared, flailing in pain, but Marcus didn't relent. He knew this was his moment. With every ounce of strength he had left, he twisted the weapon, forcing the creature to the ground with a powerful shove. It was over. The insect-like predator let out one final, guttural cry before collapsing, its massive body shuddering as it lay still on the arena floor. The crowd, who had once been so certain of the creature's victory, now sat in stunned silence. Marcus stood over the defeated monster, breathing heavily, his body aching and battered. He was covered in blood, sweat, and dirt, but his heart was pounding with triumph. He had done it again. The leader of the predators, once so confident, now looked down at Marcus with a mixture of awe and grudging respect. It had thought the human was just a temporary entertainment, a brief distraction. But now it realized the truth. This human, this strange, weak creature from a far-off planet, had defied everything. He had faced each challenge with strength, skill, and determination. And now the predators had no choice but to acknowledge what Marcus had already known. He was a force to be reckoned with. The crowd erupted into cheers, but Marcus didn't celebrate. He didn't need to. He had come here for one reason, to survive. And now, with the final predator at his feet, he had done it. The arena was quiet once again, but this time it was filled with a different kind of energy. The predators knew the truth now. The human wasn't just a stranger. He was their greatest challenge, and they had failed to defeat him. The arena was still alive with noise, but this time it wasn't the cheering or jeering that filled the air. It was the sound of uncertainty. Marcus stood tall in the center of the arena, his chest heaving with every breath. His body ached, his muscles screamed for rest, but his mind was sharp. He had survived. He had defeated the behemoth and the insect-like predator, but now the biggest challenge of all awaited him. The predators, once confident in their strength, now looked at Marcus with something different in their eyes. It wasn't just the fear that had begun to settle into their hearts. It was something more. Something they hadn't seen in any human before. Something dangerous. Something that made them question everything they had known about their power. Marcus' victory was no fluke. It wasn't just his fighting skill or strength. It was his unbreakable will, his determination to survive against overwhelming odds. The other predators could feel it. They sensed the power that radiated from him, not because of his size, but because of his heart. The leader of the predators, a towering figure with sharp tusks and scales like armor, stepped forward. Its yellow eyes gleamed with a mixture of respect and irritation. "Enough," it said, its voice deep and commanding. "You've proven your strength, human, but you are nothing more than a nuisance." Marcus didn't respond. He wasn't interested in the leader's words. He had been through enough battles to know that words didn't matter. Action did. The crowd fell silent again, their eyes glued to the scene unfolding before them. The leader of the predators narrowed its gaze and turned its attention to the other creatures in the arena. "Bring out the final challenger," it ordered. The air seemed to thicken as another gate slowly began to rise. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed in the distance, growing louder with each passing second. The crowd's excitement was palpable, their hearts racing with anticipation. This was it, the final battle. The human had defeated two powerful creatures already, but could he survive the ultimate test? From the darkness behind the gate, a new creature emerged. Unlike anything Marcus had seen before, this one was a massive creature, towering over all the others. Its body was muscular, its skin like blackened stone, and its eyes were filled with a cold, calculating rage. It was the size of the behemoth, but its movements were precise, almost like it was born to kill. The creature stepped into the arena with slow, deliberate steps. The earth seemed to tremble with every movement it made. It was covered in armor, its claws sharp enough to cut through steel. This was the final predator, the one that would decide whether Marcus lived or died. Marcus didn't back down, his gaze never wavered. He had been through too much to be intimidated now. The creature's eyes locked onto him, and for a moment there was nothing but silence. The tension in the air was thick, almost suffocating. Then, without warning, the creature lunged. It moved so fast that Marcus barely had time to react. The massive claws came down like a hammer, aiming for his head. In an instant, Marcus rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding the attack. The creature's claws scraped against the stone floor with a deafening screech, sending sparks flying into the air. The crowd gasped and the predator roared in frustration. But Marcus wasn't done. He was on his feet in an instant, darting toward the creature's exposed side. The predator was huge, but it wasn't fast. Marcus had learned that in every fight, speed was just as important as strength. He had used his agility to his advantage before, and he would do it again. The creature swung its massive arm toward him, but Marcus was already moving. He ducked under the strike, his body a blur as he darted between the predator's legs. He reached up, grabbing a piece of broken stone and driving it into the creature's vulnerable underbelly. The creature screamed in pain, its massive form stumbling backward. But Marcus wasn't finished. He pressed the attack, climbing up the predator's massive leg, using every ounce of strength he had left. With a grunt, Marcus grabbed the creature's thick arm, using it to launch himself higher. He reached for its head, his fingers digging into the thick, armored skin. The predator swiped at him, but Marcus was faster. He ducked, narrowly avoiding the creature's claws once again, and finally, with all his might, he drove his weapon into the creature's exposed neck. The predator howled in pain, thrashing violently as Marcus held on. The crowd was on the edge of their seats now, their cheers rising as they watched the human fight like a wild animal, determined to survive. The creature's strength was incredible, but Marcus was relentless. Every time it tried to shake him off, Marcus found a new way to hold on. He wasn't just fighting for his life anymore, he was fighting for something bigger. He was fighting to prove that humans could stand against anything, even the most fearsome of predators. With one final, powerful strike, Marcus drove the stone shard deep into the creature's neck. The beast let out a final, ear-splitting roar before collapsing to the ground with a thunderous crash. The arena shook as the creature's massive body hit the stone floor, the life draining from it in an instant. For a moment, everything was still. The crowd was silent, unable to believe what they had just witnessed. The leader of the predators, who had once mocked Marcus, now stood frozen in disbelief. The other predators, who had been certain of their victory, now realized the truth. The human had done it. He had defeated the impossible. Marcus stood over the fallen creature, panting heavily, his body covered in sweat and blood. His muscles were aching, but his heart was pounding with triumph. He had survived, and he had won. The leader of the predators finally spoke, its voice low and filled with grudging respect. You are not like the others. You are a true warrior human." Marcus didn't say anything. He didn't need to. The victory was his, and the arena had witnessed it. The predators may have been stronger, faster, and more deadly, but Marcus had something they didn't, the heart of a survivor. And in the end, that was all that mattered. The silence in the arena was deafening. The massive creature lay motionless on the ground, its lifeless body sprawled across the stone floor. For a long moment, no one moved. The predators watched in stunned silence, their eyes fixed on the human standing alone in the center of the arena. Marcus' chest heaved with every breath. His body battered and bloodied, but his spirit was unbroken. He had done it. He had defeated the behemoth, the insect-like monster, and now the final predator lay at his feet. His heart still raced from the fight, his muscles aching with every movement, but he had proven something today. Something that no one in this arena had ever believed possible. For a moment, the arena was still, the crowd holding its collective breath. Then, as if on cue, a single clap echoed through the room. It was slow at first, unsure. But as the sound reverberated through the stone walls, others joined in. Soon, the entire arena was filled with the sound of clapping. The predators, the ones who had once been so confident in their superiority, were now giving him the respect he deserved. Marcus stood still, his arms at his sides, his face stoic. He didn't need their applause, he didn't need their respect. All he needed was to survive, and that he had done. The leader of the predators stepped forward, its massive form casting a shadow over Marcus. It was silent for a long time, its glowing yellow eyes fixed on the human. Then finally it spoke. "You've earned your victory," the leader said, its voice low and tinged with grudging respect. "You have defeated the greatest fighters in the arena. You are stronger than any human we have ever encountered." Marcus didn't say anything. He didn't need to. He knew the truth. The predators had underestimated him. They had thought he was just another weak human thrown into the arena to die for their amusement. But he had shown them what humanity was capable of. He had fought not just with his body, but with his heart, and that made all the difference. The leader's gaze hardened, its eyes narrowing. "But this is not over yet," it continued. "There is one final challenge you must face, a challenge that no human has ever survived." The crowd fell silent again. The tension in the air was thick, as heavy as the stone walls surrounding them. Marcus knew that the leader wasn't just speaking figuratively. There was something more, something they hadn't told him yet. The leader raised a hand, and a large door on the far side of the arena slowly creaked open. From behind it, a figure emerged. It was taller than the other predators, its shape blurred by the shadows that surrounded it. As it stepped forward, the crowd gasped in shock. It was a human. But not just any human. This one was different. His eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and his posture was rigid, almost mechanical. His skin was pale, his features sharp, and his expression cold and emotionless. It was like looking at a mirror, but the reflection was twisted, unnatural. The leader stepped aside, revealing the human for all to see. "This," it said, "is the final test, the perfect warrior, the one who was created to be superior in every way." The crowd murmured in disbelief. This human, this creature, was different from anything they had seen before. It wasn't a human in the traditional sense. It was something else entirely. Marcus' heart sank as he looked at the figure. He didn't need to be told what it was. He had heard rumors of such creations, human-like beings, bred for combat, enhanced with technology and genetic manipulation. This was the product of the predators' experiments, their attempt to create the perfect soldier, a warrior without weakness, without fear. And now Marcus was expected to fight it. The leader's voice was low, its words filled with a dark promise. "You have fought your way through our arena, human, but now you face the ultimate challenge. Defeat this warrior and you will have proven yourself. Fail, and you will be nothing more than a memory." Marcus stood frozen, his mind racing. This wasn't a fight he had ever imagined. The battles he had faced so far had been hard enough, but this was different. This wasn't just a creature of flesh and bone. It was something more, something designed to be invincible. But he had come this far. He had fought for his survival. He wasn't going to stop now. With a deep breath, Marcus focused. His body was tired, his mind exhausted, but his will was stronger than ever. He had survived the impossible before. He would survive this too. The warrior in front of him stepped forward, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. It was a machine programmed for one purpose, to kill. Marcus moved first. He charged forward, throwing everything he had into the fight. He couldn't afford to hesitate. He couldn't afford to be cautious. The warrior was faster than anything he had ever fought before. Its movements were precise, calculated, like a machine built to predict his every move. The warrior struck first, its fist slamming into Marcus' side with the force of a wrecking ball. Marcus gasped in pain as he was knocked sideways, his body crashing into the stone floor. For a moment, the world went black. But Marcus didn't stay down. He couldn't. The predator had no mercy. The human who fought before him had none either. Slowly, he pushed himself up, his body shaking from the impact, but his eyes burning with the fire of determination. The warrior lunged again, its fists like steel hammers. But Marcus was faster. He ducked under the strike, grabbing a piece of broken stone from the floor. He swung it upward, catching the warrior off guard. The stone shard sunk into its chest, but the warrior didn't stop. It didn't even flinch. Marcus' heart raced as he realized the truth. This wasn't just a battle of strength. It was a battle of will. He couldn't defeat the warrior by outfighting it. He had to outlast it. The warrior swung again, its speed unmatched, but Marcus was ready. He dodged and countered, every move calculated, every strike aimed at the weak points of the warrior's armor. Slowly, painfully, he wore it down. The crowd watched in awe. The human was still standing, and for the first time the predator leader's expression changed. The human wasn't just surviving, he was fighting to win. Marcus pressed on, knowing that each moment brought him closer to victory. He had already proven so much. Now he would prove the most important truth of all, that humanity would never give up. The battle between Marcus and the perfect warrior had been going on for what seemed like hours. His body ached with every movement, bruised and battered from the relentless strikes of the machine-like fighter. But Marcus didn't care. He had come this far. He had fought too hard to give up now. The arena was silent except for the sound of heavy breathing, the thud of feet against the stone, and the clashing of fists. The crowd had stopped cheering. They were watching in stunned silence, unsure of what would happen next. Could this human, this underdog from Earth, really defeat the perfect warrior? Or was this the end of his journey? Marcus stood tall, his chest heaving with each breath. Sweat dripped from his forehead and his muscles burned with exhaustion. His vision was blurry, but his mind was clear. He had learned to fight for survival. He had learned to adapt to whatever came his way. The pain was nothing new to him. It was just another challenge to overcome. The perfect warrior, on the other hand, didn't feel pain. It was a machine, a weapon built for one purpose, to destroy. Its glowing eyes locked onto Marcus, calculating his every move, analyzing his weaknesses. It was faster, stronger, and more precise than anything Marcus had ever faced. But Marcus had one thing the warrior didn't: heart. The warrior lunged forward again, its fist swinging with the force of a hammer. Marcus barely dodged in time, the air whooshing past him as the fist missed by inches. He quickly countered, but the warrior moved too fast, dodging his strike effortlessly. It was like fighting a shadow, a creature that anticipated every move before it even happened. Marcus stumbled back, his feet slipping on the slick stone. The warrior didn't waste any time. It advanced, its fists raining down in a flurry of unrelenting blows. Marcus raised his arms to protect himself, but the force of the punches knocked him backward, crashing into the ground. Pain exploded through his body, and for a moment he couldn't breathe. The crowd gasped in unison, the tension reaching a breaking point. Had Marcus finally met his match? Was this the end of his fight? But Marcus wasn't done yet. He pushed himself up with a grunt, his hands shaking from the effort. His legs felt like lead, but he forced himself to stand. The warrior advanced again, its eyes glowing with cold, calculated precision. But Marcus wasn't afraid anymore. He had faced so many impossible odds already, and he had come out on top each time. This fight wasn't just about strength. It wasn't about being faster, stronger, or better equipped. This fight was about willpower. It was about the refusal to give up, no matter how hopeless the situation seemed. And Marcus wasn't going to give up. Not now, not when he was so close. The warrior swung again, but this time Marcus was ready. He sidestepped the strike, his body moving on pure instinct. The warrior's fist crashed into the stone floor, sending cracks spreading outward. Marcus saw his opportunity. He dove forward, using the warrior's momentum against it. He grabbed a large shard of metal from the ground and jammed it into the gap in the warrior's armor. The warrior let out a mechanical screech, stumbling back in pain. The crowd gasped, a murmur of disbelief spreading through them. Could it be? Had Marcus finally found a weakness in the perfect warrior? Marcus didn't waste a second. He pressed his attack, his movements fueled by sheer determination. He struck again, using the shard to force the warrior back until it was on the ground, its movements slowing. But the warrior wasn't finished. It was still trying to fight, still trying to rise. Its glowing eyes flickered with fury, and its mechanical limbs twitched in an attempt to get up. But Marcus wasn't backing down. He moved faster, smarter. He had learned to read his opponent, to anticipate its next move. And this time, he knew exactly what he had to do. With one final, powerful strike, he drove the shard deep into the warrior's chest, piercing its core. The warrior let out one last, mechanical scream before its body fell limp, the lights in its eyes flickering before going dark. The arena was silent. Marcus stood over the fallen warrior, panting, his body covered in sweat and blood. His chest rose and fell with each heavy breath, his legs unsteady beneath him. He was exhausted, completely drained. But he had done it. He had defeated the perfect warrior. The crowd, once filled with doubt and disbelief, now erupted in applause. It wasn't the usual hollow cheer of victory. This was different. The predators in the stands were clapping in awe, their respect for the human palpable. They had never seen anything like this. They had seen countless battles, countless fights, but never had they witnessed such raw determination, such heart, from someone they had once considered beneath them. The leader of the predators stepped forward, its eyes still glowing with a mixture of respect and something else. Fear. Fear of what Marcus represented, fear of what humanity could become. "You," the leader said, its voice thick with admiration. "You are unlike any human we have ever encountered." Marcus didn't say anything. He was too tired, too focused on the victory he had earned with every ounce of his being. He had proven something today, something that no one could take away from him. He had faced the impossible and come out on top. The leader of the predators stood silent for a moment, its gaze fixed on Marcus. "You have earned your freedom," it said. "You are no longer just a human, you are a legend." Marcus didn't need to hear the words. He had already won. He had defeated the odds, not with his strength alone, but with his heart. And that was something no predator, no warrior could ever take from him. The arena erupted in cheers once again, but this time, Marcus didn't feel the need to bask in the glory. He had already achieved what he set out to do. He had shown the predators the true power of humanity, not just the physical strength, but the strength to endure, to never give up, no matter the odds. As the crowds roared and the leader stepped back, Marcus looked around the arena, his eyes steady, his resolve unshaken. He had done what no one thought possible. And in that moment, he knew one thing for certain. He was not just a survivor. He was a hero. The arena was a battleground of dust, sweat, and blood. But as the cheers filled the air, it wasn't just the crowd's roar that echoed. It was something deeper, a moment that would forever be etched into the minds of the predators and their audience. Marcus stood in the center of the arena, battered and bruised, his chest heaving with exhaustion, but his eyes shone with something that couldn't be broken: victory. He had done what no one thought possible. He had defeated the perfect warrior, the ultimate creation of the predators, a creature designed for one purpose, to destroy. And yet Marcus had outlasted it, outsmarted it, and in the end he had overcome it. The crowd, once filled with doubt and fear, was now united in awe. The predators who had once mocked him were now forced to respect him. They had witnessed the true strength of humanity, the strength to never give up, to rise against the odds. The leader of the predators, the same towering figure who had once looked at Marcus with disdain, now stood before him. Its glowing yellow eyes were softer now, almost thoughtful. For a moment there was silence, the weight of the past battles hanging heavy in the air. You are not what I expected," the leader said, its voice calm but filled with a grudging respect. "When you first entered the arena, I saw nothing but a weak human destined for death, but you have proven me wrong. You have proven that your kind is capable of more than I ever imagined." Marcus didn't say anything. He didn't need to. His body was aching from the battles, but his heart was filled with pride. He had come here to survive, and he had done more than that. He had shown the predators that humanity wasn't weak, that humans could rise to any challenge and conquer it. The leader of the predators took a slow step back, its massive form casting a long shadow over Marcus. "I once thought your species was nothing more than prey, but you—" the leader's voice softened, almost as if it had a hint of admiration. "You are more than that. You are worthy." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Marcus, despite his exhaustion, stood taller. His heart pounded in his chest. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about something bigger. It was about proving that, no matter the species, no matter the strength of the enemy, humanity could never be broken. The arena was still. The predators who had once laughed at Marcus now stood in silent recognition of his triumph. They had watched him defeat their strongest warriors, their most powerful creations. And now they knew the truth. The human was more than just a warrior. He was a symbol of resilience, of strength, and of the power that lay within every human being. The leader's voice broke the silence once more. "The arena is yours," it said, a final gesture of respect. "You have defeated every challenger. You have earned the right to leave, to return to your world. Your fight is over. You have won." Marcus didn't move at first. He stood there, taking in the words. He had won. He had earned his freedom, but it wasn't just about that. It was about the journey, the struggle, and the triumph. It was about showing the predators and himself that no matter the odds, he would never give up. But as he stood there, the weight of the battle starting to settle in, Marcus realized something important. It wasn't just about his victory. It was about what he could teach others, what he could prove to humanity. He had come to this arena as an underdog, a stranger, but he was leaving as a legend. And in that moment, he knew he had the power to inspire others to fight for what they believed in, to rise above their circumstances, and to never stop pushing forward no matter what. The leader stepped aside, allowing Marcus to pass. The massive gates of the arena slowly began to open, revealing the way out. Marcus took one last look around the arena, the place where he had fought, where he had bled, and where he had proved that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its size or power, but in its heart. As he walked toward the exit, the crowd followed him with their eyes. No longer was he just a prisoner, no longer was he just a weak human thrown into the arena for sport. He was their champion now, a symbol of the strength and resilience of the human spirit. The gate opened wide and the sunlight flooded into the dark arena. For the first time since he had entered, Marcus stepped into the light. It wasn't just freedom that he had earned, it was respect. The predators, the crowd, and even the leader of the arena had come to understand that, despite their superior strength, humanity had something they could never possess: the unbreakable will to survive. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the sun on his skin. It was a simple feeling, one he had taken for granted before, but now it felt like the greatest victory of all. He had fought for his freedom, for his life, and he had won. But more than that, he had proven that no one, no creature, no predator, no challenge, could ever take away the strength of a human spirit. He didn't know what awaited him beyond the gates, but he knew this. He was no longer the stranger who had entered the arena. He was a warrior, a hero, and he had earned his place in the world. As the gates closed behind him, Marcus walked into the unknown, knowing that whatever challenge